Well, we've got two gentlemen plus one in a moment. Bala Ibrahim is the Director of Publicity for the All Progressives Congress, and sitting beside him is Don Pedro Baseki, who is the Director of Research and Strategy for the PDP Presidential Campaign. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, from what the NSA did say, he said he knows that you all have political thugs, and that he's issued that clear warning that they will be coming for that. Let me start with Mr. Ibrahim, since it's a ruling party. Why is there a need in the first place to have these political thugs? Because the NSSIC knows that you forgot them.
Well, I'm happy the NSA said they know them and they are going to go after them. And if these thugs are a nuisance, if the miscreants are not wanted, they are not needed, in the first place, why allow them to even germinate, grow, and operate? I think they ought to have, right from the very beginning, stop this proliferation of thugs. They ought to have done something before they get to the place or position where they become a nuisance to the society. Now, no serious party will want to campaign with thugs. No serious party will want to showcase its achievements or what it wants to do, especially in terms of bringing peace and development in the society through the use of thugs. So, yes, I agree. Some parties have thugs. And thugs...
Doesn't APC have political thugs?
I cannot say, or I will not say the APC does not have political thugs. But you see, how these people emerge to become thugs is a different thing. They come in the name of supporters, and out of the zeal to show their support for the party, they wear the looks of what is called thugs. Some of them are party arrangement for the provision of security. Some of them are party arrangement for mobilization. Some of them are used to provide cover for people who are going to campaign, who will get on podium, who will get to places where there are security challenges. But the motive, the aim of getting them there is not to harass, is not to molest, is not to intimidate people who are coming either to oppose or support. So I agree with the NSC. Yes, the law must play its part. The law must be...
So why can't the APC rein in those thugs then? Well, if they go overboard?
The APC is doing what is supposed to be done by way of enlightening, educating, and campaigning against violence. The APC is always making supporters, I don't want to say thugs, supporters to know that it is the party in power. And as the party in power, no party has interest in peace more than the APC.
But you know that if you give them a different name, you're not admitting that there's a problem and it needs to be solved. Why don't we call a spade a spade?
Yeah, and what do we call them? The society or the system has already classified them as thugs. It will be very difficult to change the nomenclature overnight. Yes, they are so-called thugs, but are they thugs that unleash violence on people? If they do, they must be dealt with accordingly. What the NSA say is that they know them, they are going to go after them, and they are telling the parties, they have done so in unmistakable language, that should they allow these thugs to operate wrongly, the law is going to take its course.
So, Dr. Baseki, is there any denying as well that the PDP has political thugs too?
I think so far in the public space, we are the victims, not the perpetrators. So far I think even on this channel a couple of weeks ago, there was a necessity for us to cry. If I remember clearly, even the National Peace Committee had to be written, particularly in very direct areas. We all know that, in fact, there's even raising the bar. It has become almost systemic, where governors in certain states have now made it almost a policy of its own governance to deny access to places and use thugs to enforce such denials. And I think even in the statement made by the NSA, General Monguno actually pointed to a majority of them being governors. It was that specific. And if you remember, sometime I think earlier in the month, he also stated clearly that there were 52 indexed violations between October 8 and November 9. So it is important that this be dealt with. I even think that, I agree with Ibrahim, coming to even give this kind of warnings, I think it just fuels the thugs. Let's call them that. They are thugs.
But before you go a little further, Zamfara state government doesn't see it that way, that you are the victim. In fact, they say that PDP was the perpetrator, that PDP thugs were going about destroying property and government property and people's property during the campaign in the name of campaigning, and that they will not have it anymore. In fact, they cautioned the party to rein in their thugs, the PDP in Zamfara.
Yes, and you know, I don't want to say such parties have raised propaganda to the levels of high art, even when we see it on television. We saw it on TV. I think even it got to a point the National Broadcasting Commission, as well as the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria, had to plead to the Zamfara state governor, Matawale, to please let peace reign. We saw the same thing happen in Kano. We saw the same thing happen in Maiduguri. I was even in Maiduguri. That one. The attack happened in front of the Shehu
Borno.
Yeah, Shehu Borno's palace. You know, so I think it has come to a point that we call these thugs to order. You know, we are in a situation where thugs have been raised to the level of, let me borrow his word, supporters and security. You see, when you provide thugs as alternative security, is actually an indictment on the success of the system. So let's, like Jonathan said in 2015, the ambitions of any politician is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. We are people, first and foremost, we are humans, and we must understand that power is a game. It's not a do or die affair.
So, and that's where I'd like to start from, because much as you're trying to play the victim card here, a number of people will say, yes, it is the presidential campaign rally of your presidential candidate in some states has suffered some setbacks owing to these incidences of violence. But if governors are the people being, you know, pointed, accusing fingers at here, you also have governors in the PDP who have also been accused of being intolerant of other, would I say, opposition parties within their state, and have refused them to put up billboards, have not allowed them hold campaign rallies, allowed them the use of fields, etc., to do their campaigns, etc. So for me, I would like to take a more holistic look at it, because whether or not we like it, the incidences of violence in our elections have been with us for quite a while. And politicians know, you know, the root cause of this. This is not the first time we have heard about politicians using thugs for elections, and then after elections, they have no use for them again. They are, you know, left fallow, and then they come up to their own devices. Security agencies always point at the fact that criminality, the incidences of criminality increase right after elections, and that's because thugs now do not have anywhere to get their funding from.
Yes.
So the question for me is this something you think can be eradicated? These incidences of, you know, young people, nobody was born a thug. Situation and circumstances, you know, have led people to that sort of life, and oftentimes they find out that there is some profit to be made, at least during a particular season. And afterwards, they are left to fend for themselves. So I want to know if it's something in your mind you think can be eradicated. These incidences of thuggery and this issue of violence in our elections. Is this something you think can be eradicated?
Until it is eradicated, there is actually no real credible election. And I think the media has a very serious role to play, so that they make these kids realize that they are actually the collateral damage at the end of the day. It is important that the politicians, too, should be made to raise the bar. They must live up to the promises they make to the people. And by encouraging, engaging, recruiting thugs as part of their political arsenal, it just shows how benign and how narrow-minded many of them are. I don't have any room in my mind, no matter even if the person is in my party, for the person or persons, even the governors, to come out in the open domain or behind the sanctuary of locked doors to put at risk the people they are actually supposed to serve. It is very important that they understand that it is bestial. It makes them a little less than human. And that is the truth. Because our children, the youth of today, are part and parcel of our collective commonwealth. They must be protected. And it is the duty of those in government, because government primary responsibility is the protection of lives and property of the citizenry. That is cardinal. So if at the end of the day we have governors, whether on any part of the divide, fueling political violence and using thugs to perpetrate themselves in office, those persons must be brought to book and called to order. Even after the elections, that is very key. If they understand the enormity of what, in fact, the Electoral Act states clearly that where there are such levels of violence, elections should not even take place. So I think that it is important for the politicians to be so educated, and for those who they have been using as their cudgel to also be so educated. And that is why I think the media plays such a role. They should also understand that the international community is coming hard on any of these persons. We are indexing them. Everybody sees them. Everywhere everybody is a cubicle broadcaster now with our mobile phones. We can see them. So the era of hoodwinking people, playing to the gallery while raising thuggery and political violence to the realms of high art, those days are gone.
You know, I really wish that they were gone. Because this is the period of fuel scarcity. And one of the things that blights maybe it's not really a blight, maybe it's for us to come to terms with our reality. You see a lot of young men, sometimes women too, or let's say ladies, young boys and young girls, you know, standing by the roadside and helping selling fuel in jerry cans. If you drive along the road to the airport from the city gate, you will see them in their numbers. Before you drive from the city gate to, say, maybe ShopRite, you might have counted at least 100 young boys and girls selling petrol in jerry cans. And there are deep questions to ask when you see these young people, because they only come out when there is a scarcity. So there are questions to ask as to when there is no scarcity,
what do they do?
What are they doing? There is huge unemployment in our country today. And for a number of people, that's cannon fodder. If you give somebody who's just looking to eke a living some money, that person might do anything that you say. So the poverty in our system is something that we cannot ignore, and we cannot pretend that politicians have not taken advantage of what is currently in our system. Your party is still in power. Let me come to you, sir. The APC is still in power. It has promised to do something about poverty. Or at least it did promise that it was going to do something about poverty, and also you know, reduce unemployment. The economy was one of the cardinal points upon which President Muhammadu Buhari campaigned. When you see situations like this, you know, circumstances that still provide cannon fodder for electoral violence, what are your thoughts, really? I do not know whether this hits you at all.
Well, anyone with conscience will certainly feel it. Anyone that feels for his life must feel for the life of others. But I can tell you, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari is one government that is passionate, is one government that is considerate, is one government that has taken the feelings of the people into serious consideration. Since coming to power in 2015, the president or the APC government has been doing all it can to ensure employment, to reduce poverty, and to make people more comfortable and secure than the situation that obtained before. And this is why you see this periodic fuel shortage, particularly in a period like now, have gone down seriously since the government took attention to the provision of fuel. Here and there, of course, we have cases like this. And here and there, certainly you will have people who are not comfortable with their own way of living, and they want to take advantage to exploit or extort people when there is fuel scarcity. They come around with jerrycans and they display their wares. But this is not to say these people selling or the ones hawking belong to any particular party. No, they are Nigerians who want to earn extra money or exploit situations. Something has to be done to correct the orientation and make people understand that, look, it is wrong for you to take advantage of situations for your own benefit. In terms of poverty alleviation, this government has proven to the public and the society that, yes, it takes the matter of poverty seriously, and it has come up with policies where stipends are given, where loans are given to people to engage in certain jobs, where humanitarian interventions have been given, and where, like I said, a system has been introduced for people to go work to the farm. And a lot of peasants have been turned into millionaires, especially in rice farming. So really, anybody who looks through the index and look at the statistics properly, you will see to it that no government in recent times has done something towards taking people out of difficulty than the government of APC and Muhammadu Buhari.
Well, clearly you expect that there'll be reactions to that one, either from the PDP or questions that will follow up on that one. But that will be when we return in just a moment. Stay with us.
I'm about to serve better breakfast.
If you're in Lagos, you need to see this.
I'm not just streaming content, I'm just escaping traffic.
Get more data to enjoy exclusive content. Dial *141# now. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Hi, I'm Pat Rankin, and they don't call me World Best for no reason. I only deal with the best. Be it auto or business, 100% claim is always guaranteed.
Welcome to world-class insurance services. We are Anchor Insurance, where insurance truly works.
Heartburn and indigestion? Try Gestede. My recommendation for the past 26 years, Gestede. Reliable remedy for heartburn, indigestion, flatulence, and acidity.
Good night, hon.
Good night, sweetheart.
Hope you got all the gifts for tomorrow.
Huh? Yeah, I forgot.
For every setback you encounter, there's a solution for you.
Who is there?
You can count on Keystone Bank to make it happen when it matters the most. Season's greetings.
The benefits of real estate outweigh its risk and remains one of life's best investments. However, a floodgate of fraudulent activities within the sector has led to the Lagos State government being inundated with complaints and petitions. Thus, the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority Law 2022 was enacted to curb such practices. At LASRIRA, our purpose is to regulate and sanitize the sector, creating an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, while attracting foreign direct investments into the industry as we move Lagos into a 21st century economy.
And this is why we are inviting you to the 3rd edition of the largest real estate market in sub-Saharan Africa, Lagos Real Estate Marketplace Conference and Exhibitions. The 3rd edition themed the Lagos Real Estate Emerging Markets, Mitigating the Potential Risks. It holds on the 6th and 7th of December 2022. Admission is free, registration required.
Welcome back. Well, Mr. Ibrahim, when you say no government has done much more than this government, but the figures, they don't add up then, because you have seen them. In fact, there's been pointed accusations against your party that they seem to weaponize poverty and ensure that, because we saw that the accusation was all over the place during the last, I think it was Ekiti elections, and they said that the party weaponized poverty, and as such, the people had no choice than to come in there and do their bidding.
Well, it's nothing surprising when people point accusing fingers at the government in power. It's the norm all over the world. The government is or the party in power is not the underdog. It is always the one that is there to be beaten. It's one place the opposition is struggling to get to, and in the process or in that struggle, anything can be said in order to confuse the people to vote for it. Statistics may say something, but the reality speaks a different story. Everyone knows for sure that the government of APC and the government of Muhammadu Buhari have been doing very well in order to reverse the situation that obtained before under the PDP. And the statistics have always been looking at indices that are challengeable, indices that when looked at properly, they could get different interpretation.
For example?
When you look at the number of thugs, the number of people that engage in political misbehavior from 1999 when democracy came to 2015, juxtapose it with from 2015 to date, you'll find that the figures are lower now than they were before. This is a sign of the reduction of poverty. People are now engaged in productive enterprise as against thuggery and other violent behaviors. Between 1999 and 2015, almost after every election, violence erupts, and it erupts violently. There are vigilantes or thugs club, I may call it, that emerge, and sometimes they're even sponsored by states. We have, they call them in house.
So there is a thugs club, I see.
Of course, yes, identified. They come in the name of Sarasuka, they come in the name of, they have all sorts of names. But this government, when it came to power 2015, it addressed those problems, and no any such club emerged. That is not to say there are supporters or party stalwarts that have this type of thugs in their company, but they are not allowed to get to the position of recognition by the government. No way.
So, but those figures, okay, well, let's get Mr. Sobaseki to respond. Go ahead, please.
You see, everybody in Nigeria knows today that the APC has raised propaganda to the level of high art. For Ibrahim to sit here, when I started talking, I thought I could sheath the sword, but I think it's evident that Nigerians have to be saved from the monumental sophistry of the APC. The figures don't lie. The last frame on your TV today was showcasing the multidimensional poverty in Nigeria and how it has skyrocketed since they came to power. Let's not just even go there. Finally, just a few weeks ago, I think it was written by the former deputy governor of the central bank, that on a monthly basis, there is a 20% increase in inflation in Nigeria. It is unheard of. Today, we know today that the purchasing power parity of the Nigerian naira, which means as it affects everybody's purchasing power, has dropped by close to 750%. Nigeria had moved from being the largest economy in the world, in Africa, as recalibrated in 2014 under Jonathan, to becoming the poverty capital of the world. Like you said, they've weaponized poverty, where our take-home pay no longer can take us home. Nigerians are feeling the pinch daily. And for you to sit here and then begin to blame the PDP of 8 years ago, who left a healthy economy, who left a seemingly more safe environment, who did not turn Nigeria into the kidnapping capital of the world. It's just as, it's okay. For everybody knows the coloration of the All Progressives Congress in Nigeria. I don't want to go there. Finally, let me just throw this in so that we don't derail, because he went on another tangent. Thuggery is almost a direct derivative of the poverty level within the country. And what she was talking about with the plethora of jerry can carrying fuel sellers, or even within 100 meters, within a kilometer, you have 100 of them. For Ibrahim to sit here and try to say that is as a result of the fact that they want to add a few extra cobbles to their earning. Let me quote Patrick Obayagbo. I think all Nigerians will say "Kabodo rejectamenta" to that. It is sophist. Sorry to say.
Whatever that means, though.
Sophist. I don't know what it means. So to just show you the propensity, how the thing don't bad reach.
All right, let's bring in our colleagues from Lagos.
Thank you, Chamberlain. I just want to ask Mr. Ibrahim, because looking at the figures, the facts released by INEC, for example, regarding, violent attacks on its offices, even post-election violence, thuggery, and all of that. There have been 41 incidents across just 3 years. That's 2019, 2021, 2020, and 2021. We've not even talked about 2022 yet. And just within how many weeks we've seen a series of attacks on INEC installations. And I mean, who else will carry that out except those individuals that have been identified by the NSA? So when you say that it's gotten better during this government, just 3 years, we've had 41. If we add this year to it, that will be about 50 or even more. So the facts are there, and I wonder what yardstick you're using to say, because we need to confront these issues. I mean, I don't want us to just sweep it under the carpet and then it'll become a big deal for us during the election and after. So I want us to actually speak to this and ensure that we hold those who are responsible to account, such that we indeed have that free, fair, and transparent election that the president indeed promised. But also regarding the fuel situation, I mean, just this year alone, if you said that it's better during this government, this year alone, Abuja has had almost an unending fuel scarcity. Don't forget, we started this year with a dirty fuel situation. No one has been brought to book about that dirty fuel situation. And now we're ending the year with fuel scarcity. So literally during this year, we've had fuel scarcity day in, day out. So I wonder for you, is it that we sometimes, because of our political affiliation, we don't want to exactly say it as it is, so we don't indict our government? Because really the people know these things and they feel the pinch.
Well, thank you very much. The communication is disconnected, but if I understand you, let me start with the last, which is the issue of fuel scarcity and the adoration of stations with jerry cans. I think you are just saying that, or you said that just in order to entertain the situation. But if history is anything to rely upon, anyone who lives or visited Nigeria before the coming of APC and visits Nigeria now or lives in Nigeria now, even the blind will tell you that the situation as regards fuel supply and the ugly sight at filling station is completely reversed. It's completely reversed. If we're having fuel shortages now, and these are for reasons that have been explained, it's not to say that has been the trend all over the 7 years plus the government has been in power. But before the coming of the government, everyone knows what fuel stations or fueling stations are in Nigeria. So I don't want to elaborate on that, but you know, I know, everybody knows that it is not so. Now, with regards attacks on INEC centers and offices, yes, I agree with you. There is an increase. And I want to suspect there is something sinister. I want to suspect there is a plan by some people to cause chaos and confusion in order to sabotage the election. This, I don't know why, and I don't know who are those behind it, but the security operatives, the NSA particularly, he said they are watching. And I want to see them take action as quickly as possible so that it serves as a deterrent to others. Let's get the perpetrators brought to book. Let us get who are the people that are doing this thing. The feeling is that some people don't want the election to hold peacefully and they should not be allowed to succeed. That's all I could hear from, or I've heard from what you are saying, because there is poor communication.
Oh dear. All right, I just was pointing to the fact that example, in Abuja, Abuja has had literally fuel scarcity for most part of this year. And I was talking about the dirty fuel situation, which started the year with the different fuel queues and fuel scarcity. Just this year alone, we've had at least 4. I can't remember where. I can't remember where. I can't remember where. Okay, let me go back to Mr. Don Pedro Obaseki on this one, because earlier on when we started with the thuggery situation, I was hoping there would be some sort of commitment, some sort of assurance from you, and by extension your party, that, well, for this election, there will be no engagement of thugs, thuggery, violence, or whatever. Because you were saying that it's a role of the media, and some were saying, well, would you say to a parent that the media should train your child for you? Because these thugs are members of the party, or whatever name you want to call them. So would you be giving Nigerians listening to us right now an assurance that for this election, the PDP, your party, will not engage the services of thugs or whatsoever in any guise?
I thank you, Kayode. In any guise, any form of thuggery or sponsorship of same actually belittles our humanity. That's why I said at the beginning that all the incidences so far, we are more or less the victims. I don't think any party has no right whatsoever to engage in anything that will reduce. In fact, I cannot come in the public domain to defend any one of them. I will rather come into in the public domain and ask them to be put in jail. Anybody who wants to sacrifice the life of any singular Nigerian, irrespective of who that person might be, just for the sake of an inordinate political ambition, he is less than bestial. And I'm not here to come and start saying, please, if you notice, we were part and parcel of the National Peace Committee. I remember sometime in September 2020 of this year, even the founder of Channels and some other well-meaning Nigerians were drafted into that committee. And we made a commitment there. And if I remember clearly, with the benefit of hindsight, the only party that didn't show up, the presidential candidate didn't show up, was the APC. So, and I think this shows, and all the states that have been pointed, all the states where INEC offices have been burnt, are also APC states. All the states where the governors have been indicted in putting money on thuggery are also APC states. I remember that woman who is running the woman running for senatorial seat in Kogi State. She's cried all over the place. A woman. I mean, there is limit to elemental brigandage in the name of anything. So, Kayode, before Nigerians today, I will not have the moral rectitude to defend my party if the party becomes an institutional sponsor of thuggery. And we know those who are doing that. I live in Lagos. You are in Lagos.
Mr. Obaseki.
You know we have become the victims of the political institutional thuggery that has become our daily existence in Lagos.
Mr. Obaseki.
So the fear of Agberos and the fear of sorry, I don't want to mention his name, who have now been raised into, is the beginning of wisdom in Lagos.
Sorry, Mr. Obaseki, if you say that the states where that have been indicted for the use of political thuggery are APC states, you may just have to be patient, you know, for a little while there, because the challenge by the NSA is regardless of political party. The call on state governors to rein on political thuggery is regardless of political party, and I recall that he said that specifically. So if you are here assuring that your party will not use political thugs in this election, are you quite confident about that assurance that you're providing if the challenge by the NSA to governors is regardless of political parties?
I truly believe that General Mongono was being civil. We also have our access to information. What I say here, I mean, Shakespeare says there is no art here to tell the mind's construction on the face. So I cannot be saying what is in your mind. I can only say that what is in my mind as a person, first and foremost. I cannot defend violence in any guise. I cannot. And I know that it is not part of my principles modus operandi. That is already known in the public domain. We are not involved in the sponsorship, systemic or otherwise, of thuggery. And any one party, any governor, any individual who so steps, and I think I don't want to use the same, the forces of the security forces. No, I think the Mr. NSA should be decisive. And I think they should take them out as a deterrent to those who are going to see this election as just another election to waste away wanton lives of Nigerians.
Your assurance is based on...
Why I called on the media was that you are the largest, you are the best way
Mr. Baseki, your assurance is based on mere optimism. It's not evidential.
There is not. That is why I said it by telling you, man, that there is no act here to set the mines construction on the face. You cannot tell tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow is yet to happen.
Just before we exit...
we are telling them now that we are serious about, everybody is serious about the fact that thugs should be eliminated, reduced as much as possible.
So just before we exit this point about political thuggery, I don't think we're you know, scrutinizing that challenge by the NSA as much as we should. Now, this is an open challenge by the NSA to state governors to rein in on political thugs, particularly as it has to do with, you know, the issue of tolerance, allowing opposition parties to put up their campaign materials in the state. I mean, these are state governors. These are chief security officers of states charged with the responsibility of, you know, security of lives and property, protecting the people, ensuring an atmosphere for everyone to thrive. And yet, you know, we have this challenge to them to rein in on political thugs. Are we alarmed enough, or are we comfortable, you know, with this seemingly open indictment?
I am not comfortable with it, and I think I've said it in very clear terms. The indictment, I think, should drill down to specifics so that people will not be hiding under that umbrella of saying they say now all of us. If you use one person or one particular governor as a deterrent, the others will fall in line. Because you cannot, Bini say, they use man tap, you can say they fear. Now what do you do for your eye? They have to come up and do something.
All right.
If not, is it the heated polity, the level of hunger, the level of angst are spread across the nation.
Okay.
The level of disconnect, both tribal disconnect. So it is necessary for the National Security Advisor's Office and all the plethora of security agencies to use one or two or three as practical examples.
Okay, I need to come here.
The job will be easier for even the media to help.
All right, I need to come in here, gentlemen. Just hold on for a moment. Let's expand this conversation, really. And we're since joined by Mr. Joseph Durang, who is the North Central Coordinator of Labour Party's PCC. He joins us virtually from the nation's capital, Abuja. Thank you for joining us on the program. You know, it would seem as though everybody is denying the thugs now. It's like the APC saying, well, we don't use thugs. At least we don't use them in that context. PDP says, that's not us. And then I know that your vice presidential candidate yesterday had this press conference where he spoke about various things, especially the threat to the peace accord, which was signed some weeks back. And he mentioned instances which he perceives to be threats to the peace accord from the APC's presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate, and also from the PDP's presidential candidate. And now I wonder for you, now listening to the gentlemen speak, at least for their party, bearing in mind what the NSA said about thugs, are you convinced that indeed maybe these thugs don't have affiliations, maybe they're just free-spirited, operating on their own? Or do you still think that these parties have, at least themselves, or at least they have a responsibility for the thugs?
Well, when we come on a national television speaking to Nigerians, we should, as much as possible, try to be as sincere as we can. Because the truth, there is nothing anyone can do against the truth. There is a culture that has generally been introduced in the political arena, and that is the culture of using violence in order to win election. Now listen, right from the 16 years of PDP and now the 7.5 years of APC, they have employed the culture of using violence to win election. In fact, some of their leaders are known to be godfathers to the talks and hoodlums that are in this country. It is an open secret. Now, you see, you cannot use violence in order to win election. If an election is going to be free, fair, and credible, there is no way you can employ violence. Now, the situation we are having today is that the governors of this country have become what they have made themselves. They are empires of themselves. And if I tell you there is no political party that has been intimidated like the Labour Party. When we flagged up our campaign in Nasarawa, the governor denied us the place for us to flag up the campaign. We had to go to a school, an open school field, to do that. And even my brother Obaseki there, his elder brother, denied us place of holding our rally in Benin. And our people, it has come to a point where our people are being intimidated. But you see, we have said that no matter the level of intimidation, Nigerians are already determined that there must be a change in this country. And the change is going to come as Nigerians are going to come out themselves to see to it that the change is made in such a manner that it will be violence-free. The burning of the burning down of INEC offices does not cost anything. We know those that are doing it, and those that are doing it, they know themselves, because it is a culture they have established. But what we know is that Labour Party is going to make it this time around. We are really going to take over the government from them, from the ballot papers. And I was opportune to represent the national chairman at a security meeting in the Inspector General of Police office. And I did make it clear at that meeting that there is a failure of intelligence in Nigeria. The intelligence committee, the community, is not doing their work. And that is why things are happening and nobody is doing anything about it.
Okay.
And this, yes.
You can land on that point and this, because we need to go to break now.
Yeah, I'm saying that the failure of intelligence is as a result of the inefficiency of the department that is responsible for issuing out intelligence before things happen in the country.
All right.
Well, when you say from 1999, that also suggests that your principal cannot be absolved of any of such blame, can he?
Oh, yes, he can, because a man is known by his actions and his words. Now, you remember I did say that it is a culture that has been inculcated into the Nigerian polity by the PDP and the APC. But you see, now it is not going to be business as usual because it is a dawn of a new era. Whatever they had used in the past, I said elections in Nigeria have never been won. Elections in Nigeria from 1999 to date have been rigged. And one of the instrumentality that is used is violence. In order to intimidate.
So does that suggest that when Mr. Peter Obi won as governor, his election was rigged?
No, I never said so. In some cases. But
you said election from 1999. He participated within that period.
Yes, he participated. You remember because of his actions, he was impeached and he had to fight his way in order to get back. He was a different person entirely. He was not part of all their systems. But what I'm saying is that you'll agree with me that this culture has been there. They will intimidate you, they will snatch ballot boxes, they will come and scatter the place with guns and polling booths. But I am saying that this is a dawn of a new era. The youths of this country and Nigerians in general are determined that this time around, things must work. And all those negative numbers that they have used in order to win election are going to be challenged, by the electorates, they're going to be challenged by the youths of this country. And no longer will anyone use intimidation in order to win votes or to calculate votes for themselves.
All right, you also did refer to Mr. Obaseki's the brother of not allowing you to say anything. So let's get him to speak to that if that is the case. So Dr. Obaseki, are you also an accomplice in this matter?
Yeah, no. My elder brother made it clear. He came up and did a press statement on that because in Edo State, the government gave Peter Obi the best logistic support he had had so far. But unfortunately, because of, you see, he was just talking now, he just repeat, you know, not based on facts. And I don't,
so
I don't
what
have
are the facts?
No, the fact is, the rally was to hold on a Saturday, and the application for the use of the stadium was made on a Friday. They had to even publish those things to say this is what happened. But the vehicles that took Peter Obi around, that took him from Edo South to Edo North, is a place of more than 200 kilometers, was provided by the governor of the state. No matter how you look at it, the biggest problem people say about Governor Obaseki is that he's not a politician. So he doesn't look at such things from the narrow political prism. That is the truth. So that is exactly what, and I think that you see, I want to beg Nigerians, like Joseph just did now, we should relax and think it end to end so that we won't be carried away by the jetsam and flotsam of an almost seemingly Nazist movement. That was how we got to Buhari, gra. Now we are doing it now. Again. Now, thank God you just told him that Peter Obi was an integral part of the last outing. We were clamoring for him an article in the PDP. So there is a clear product differentiation. So for you to want to lump us all together when we are the first line victims of the APC, all the promises so cancelled by the APC were promises made against the PDP. And today, the PDP that was the collateral victim of the APC, you are trying to say we are same? You are talking about violence. Meanwhile, you are quoting the last PDP president of Nigeria who refused to unleash the dogs of war in 2015 to keep this nation safe. Meanwhile, the election prior to that, the present president, he's now immune. But in 2011, it was publicly put everywhere. I don't want to speak the Hausa about the dogs and the baboons will be filled with blood. The life of the ambition of any politician is not worth the life of any single Nigerian.
Right.
And that is the PDP's position.
So, Mr. Deran, he suggests that he's given us some facts of what transpired and that the vehicle that took your principal to over 200 kilometers was provided by the government, and suggesting that you left out that bit of information. Is that right?
That is not true at all. That's not true. You can see that the rallies that are conducted by Labour Party are organic. In fact, all things are provided by the rank and file membership of the party. The vehicle was provided by the rank and file membership of the party, and you see there was a massive turnout. They never expected. In fact, the whole streets were filled. Obaseki thought that he could frustrate our rally, but by the grace of God, it turned out to be one of the best rallies that we had, because the city was made at a standstill because of that rally that he tried to frustrate. So we should always tell the truth. You see, all this is happening as a result of the failure of both the APC and the PDP. You see, there is a Hausa adage that says, that is to say that when a man is in a shame, he uses madness just to cover up his shame. You see, what is happening is the two political parties have failed Nigerians. And Nigerians are now ready. And Nigerians are now wiser. And they have decided that this is what they want, the party that will give them that which they require. And they have seen a presidential candidate that...
Let me ask you pointedly, when you say some of those scenarios are not true, which of them? When did you apply, when did your party apply to use a venue? He says it was on a Friday and you wanted to use a venue on a Saturday.
That is not true. We normally give enough notice to every state that we go. We give security notices, we write to the Commissioner of Police in the state, we make sure that everything is done.
We'll correct something about the audio and come back to you. But Mr. Ibrahim, he also suggests that a lot rises and falls with leadership, and your party, being the ruling party, can rein in all of these things going on. So we don't even have to be at this point trying to struggle with containing political thuggery, and that the security agencies are there, and that all they need to do is give them the instructions. No political thuggery. Arrest whoever oxes God.
I agree. And that is one good quality of leadership. Example, to demonstrate to the followers that, yes, you have the sterling qualities to guide them, to direct them to do the right thing. When the leadership is right, the followership will also be right. And this is one thing that has been demonstrated by the present leader of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari. He has always been leading from the front and leading by example. He's one person who, at the slightest sign of disrespect for the law, he will rush to stand on the side of the law and insist that the right thing must be done, regardless of whose ox is God. He is one leader who has conceded defeat for the party he is in. More than once, more than twice, more than thrice, the APC gubernatorial elections were held and defeated, and he immediately calls and congratulates the winner, who belongs to the opposition party. He does not tolerate a situation where people will object, will resist, will fight, will unleash violence on the street. He says no. And once you see the leader concede defeat...
Sorry, I have to interrupt you here. At what point did this happen?
Edo,
this calling to congratulate the winner?
Anambra, Edo, and in the southwest. So all these
Those were elections where the president wasn't personally involved.
I say his party. Okay. Of course, you cannot have gubernatorial election and a presidential election at the same time.
Yeah, but the president, when you were citing this, it's just so that our viewers are not confused. It's a good thing you provided clarity, because we know that the president contested at least 4 times before he became president. So I was thinking you were referring to any of these other instances, which I know very clearly that did not happen. There was no phone call from him when he lost elections to these other candidates to congratulate them. He went to court instead.
But thank God you said he went to court. He didn't use cutlass. In all the elections he contested and lost, he went to court.
No, so he used cutlass twice. I was almost a victim.
Okay, well, I don't know.
He used the cutlass on you?
No, he said, I'm using his pawn. He said he didn't. You said he went to court. He didn't use a cutlass.
He didn't use cutlass.
He didn't incite violence. But we are very aware that even Deutsche Welle, Al Jazeera, and the BBC did a documentary on his appearances. It was carried by Liberty Television in Kaduna. And we all remember the phrase. The phrase in English is that baboons and dogs will be filled with blood.
Okay, I think I should educate.
That was when he was the candidate of the CPC, which was 2011, against the same Jonathan. I must agree that of present, we must agree. We shouldn't be partisan here. In the last few weeks of the presidential pronouncements, the president has raised the bar, whether we like it or not. He has made it clear. I saw one of the interviews where, when the man is talking sternly, you can say that it is imperative that the politicians should allow Nigerians participate free and fairly. And he will and followed after that, the General Moguno, who I think will not be saying the things he's saying without getting clearance from the presidency. So it is clear that there is an open display thus far that the president or the government maybe futuristically look into election violence in Nigeria. And thank God he's not on the ballot.
I think I should use this opportunity to educate my friend, Dr. Obaseki, because I notice you like misinformation. Starting first, well, whoever knows Muhammadu Buhari will tell you he's one person that is seriously against violence. He has never.
Maybe you are doing that within the sanctuary of your lockdown. I'm talking about what is in the public domain. I just quoted sources, and you said misinformation.
Let's see
you
what
should
he
not
wants to say
use
then.
your skewed personal...
Dr. Basek,
I mean, you just indicted me now.
Let's say the clarification he
insult.
wants to give. Then you'll respond after he... Let's see hear what he wants to say.
He was trying to translate a Hausa phrase the president used. And I am Hausa speaking, but he didn't use the Hausa speaking. He is injecting something that has not been said by the president. One thing I said I noticed is that Dr. Obaseki likes misinformation. Earlier on, he said at the peace accord, all the parties were present, but the APC was not, the APC presidential candidate was not present. I was there. Dr. Kashim Shettima was there.
But the presidential candidate was not.
I don't know what the misinformation is.
When you talk, I don't talk, right? The presidential ticket is a joint ticket. Legally, when you have the president and the vice president, you have the same ticket. When you have the vice president, you don't have the president, you have a representative of the president, is legally valid. The vice president and the national chairman, Senator Abdullah Adamu, were there. There is no higher representation for the party, but that is a different thing. When you say you are talking about parity in the purchasing power of the Naira.
So what about the translation because you said that there wasn't proper, he didn't properly translate it.
Yes, he didn't, I want him to say it. I don't want to say it, but he didn't say it. He was saying the president, Buhari said baboons and something. I want him to quote. I don't want to say it. I want him to quote that.
No,
then I'll tell him
he quoted it wrongly.
There was no place where Muhammad Buhari called on baboons and called on whatever animals he said. There was no place. If he has let him mention, and he said so in Kaduna, it is not true. You see, anything, whatever anyone will say about Muhammad Buhari, violence and corruption are two things you cannot associate him with.
So
you cannot.
Just a moment, sir, because I mean, this particular statement is not a new statement. It was quoted widely.
I want to hear the quote.
In the public domain.
I want to hear the quote.
Some people talked about how that proverb, because they said it was a proverb.
I want to hear the proverb.
Just a moment, I do not speak Hausa.
Yes, but I speak Hausa. So say quote the, I want the quotation.
If you have a contrary information, you can tell us. But to say that there was nowhere where that statement was made, might be pointing to contrary information which everybody else is aware of.
I cannot help you when you are struggling to get something against me. I cannot help you. Bring the evidence, then I'll counter you. I'm a professional translator, and the language alleged was spoken in my language. So let's take it up in the public space. If at all there is that phrase, bring it and then we'll trash it.
So what did he say from your perspective about that proverb?
Let there be
which
peace.
He quoted.
Let there be peace.
What was that?
People
say it to us in
people should ensure that elections are conducted freely, fairly, and credibly.
What was the proverb?
It's not for me to say, but I say that is the implication of what he said.
Yeah,
but if you have the phrase, bring it, then I will translate it.
Mr. Ibrahim, you can't talk about, Mr. Ibrahim, you just talk about the implication of what he said. So what did he say of which you say is the implication? What did he say?
What he said, if I may use, Araka, Akasa, Atsari. Araka, Akasa, Atsari. If I would translate it simply, when there is an election, when you vote, escort the vote. Stand and make sure that you see the result. Protect the vote. And this is what people are misconstruing to say he said you should unleash violence. I'm a professional translator, and I challenge anyone to translate this thing in the language Dr. Obaseki is advancing. There is nowhere you put that. You see, people do innuendos or actions that will provoke reactions violently.
Are you saying that Araka, Akasa means election?
Escort is Araka. Atsari means defend. Tell me how defend means unleash violence. Tell me how escort means violence. Tell me how Atsari to look at, to make sure that you maintain vigil means violence. There is no such place. We translate, but we listen to or watch when people mistranslate.
Yeah, so there's two different things. Now, there is what they call a transliteration, and there's also what they call
a translation.
A translation.
You transliterate a voice, but you translate narratives in writing.
No. transliteration happened. Well, I don't think we should be going into
well,
this.
we can go. We can go if you want. I'm free. I was a teacher, and I love this discussion.
Into this is when you try to use word for word what is said in a particular language, which it comes into the English language, which might not carry the exact same meaning.
In translation, you have literal translation, you have direct translation.
Indeed.
It all depends on what you want to convey.
Would you say that the president was mistranslated?
Of course.
And that's a different
Of course.
fish,
misquoted, mistranslated, and misconceived.
Dr. Baseki, is that your perspective?
I feel sorry for Bala. he has the world's most difficult job. To sell to Nigerians what Nigerians live on a daily basis. A narrative so skewed, I wonder how he sleeps.
I sleep very well.
I know, but there are some people who already have a panacea. Life is for them. They don't already take a Panadol. You don't care where the tea knack. Don't be offended. I feel sorry for him. It is clear that what we are talking, he knows what he's talking about. It was very wrong, very incorrect. But I want him to please take it back. I don't feed people with misinformation. I've come here with facts and data. And I've made it clear to you, you are the one who is coming up with skewed, dovetailing, windy narratives. But I feel sorry for you, and I understand that your job is to sell the world's most unsellable product. And Nigerians have wisen up to it. And for my brother, John Ndiang, please, while trying to raise your candidacy, you do not have to lump us and PDP and APC together. I also want to make you understand that in this 2023 election, Nigeria's future is at stake. And all of us, we have a stake in it to ensure that our kids and our children are not sacrificed at the wanton behest of politicians who next week or next month after the elections, their children will be marrying themselves across party divides. So if you kill yourself for a politician today, the next time you see them, all of them. Kwakwanso was PDP governor of Kano State. Peter Obi was ABGA governor of Anambra State and PDP vice presidential candidate in the last election. So all of them, they have the way of making sure they are. So please, don't kill our people. In my state, there will be little or no violence. Whether the violence is verbal, like was displayed by my ex-governor, Mr. Adams Oshomole, on Wednesday on this same television station, or whether it's physical, as they want to do in Lagos, unleashing MC Oluomo on anything that moves. I think we'll
have Comrade Nderan back so that he could go ahead and make the point that he was trying to before we lost him. Comrade, go ahead. You were making a point about whether or not you applied on a Friday, because Dr. Baseki says the government did publish that Labour Party applied on a Friday for an event on a Saturday, and the government provided the vehicle. He was categorical about those two, which you say was not correct. Was that the point you were going to make? Okay, I think it's frozen again as well. So we'll keep trying and see how some of these things work. But don't worry, that's not how BVAS is going to operate. INEC has given us that assurance that BVAS will function properly, as a matter of fact. So, Mr. Bryan, when you say the president, yes, a lot rises and falls with leadership, many would have expected that by now, those who were involved with either the raising of INEC offices, wherever they are, by now, the police, of course, they don't need any marching orders. They should have apprehended such persons and ensure that these kind of narratives never happen again. So is that something you're saying, well, the authorities there dropped the ball and that probably moving forward, they should never, ever happen again?
Well, Mr. Chamberlain, I'm happy and proud to tell you that I had a stint as the media advisor to the Inspector General of Police. So I had a very good and close contact with the workings of the police. And I've seen how investigations are conducted. And I've seen how cumbersome investigations can be in Nigeria. And also the frustrations suffered by prosecutors after investigations to get the perpetrators to book because of the dilly-dally and the way the judiciary dragged its feet when matters come to court. So it's something that I would have loved to see moving faster than it is moving now. But I am sure the police, because prior to this time, the Inspector General of Police, Alkali Usman Baba, had organized a workshop and training for police officers where other agencies were invited, including the office of the NSA and the military, so that there will be an interagency collaboration with a view to arresting and containing election situations. So these vandals or these miscreants, the thugs that are operating, I am sure investigation is going on, arrest must have been done. How quick this thing is going to be is what I cannot say.
Okay, because when you mentioned the courts, that's the next stage after they must have arrested the persons and then they're charged to court. But then you talk about investigations going on and certain people are arrested, if I heard you properly. But before that stage where you get to court, if arrests have been made, would it be out of place for them to announce to the country that certain persons have been arrested so that if anybody else is thinking that the police is slow, they should perish that thought? Has any such thing happened?
Well, I'm not in the position to know. That is for the police to say. But I am saying, with my knowledge, with hindsight, I can tell you the police will leave no stone unturned. The police is doing what it takes to ensure that those behind the things are brought to book.
Mr. Brian, you sound like the police now, maybe because you work with them, so that's understandable when you say they leave no stone unturned. But we also saw the brevity, the speed with which the authorities, all working together, incidentally now, when the NSAS protest occurred, they told us who the people are. They said they froze their bank accounts, certain persons were arrested. That was really quick and efficient. Why don't we see the same thing normally now?
You see, I don't want to go into the politics of the NSAS.
No, I'm not talking about the politics of NSAS. I'm talking about the efficiency and efficacy of government agencies who, though are different agencies, they work together very well at that point in time.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I am not saying every case has the same pattern or procedure of prosecution and investigation.
Okay, depending on what the government is interested in doing.
It's not the interest of the government. The main interest of the government is peace and justice. The government has no
the same interest now?
It is interest.
Why don't we see the same brevity and
Yeah, it's because we are over anxious. We want to see results before actions are done. You're right? But I assure you.
Let's make it comrade.
I told you that my last job is the worst job in the world.
Well, comrade is, let's get back to comrade before we're out of time on this one. Comrade, please go ahead and make your point.
Okay,
Do we have comrade?
The long and short of it is that whether notice was given short, because we can continue to argue that the fact remains that all the efforts they made to frustrate us for not holding that rally in Benin were able to hold the rally. The rally went on and it was okay. Now, let me make this statement quickly. There are words that are associated with our leaders in Nigeria. For example, the words are synonymous with the names of the following people. For example, General Gawan. You know, there was this saying that Gawan said that to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. And then when it came to Jonathan, President Jonathan, we must give it to President Jonathan. President Jonathan said that as far as I'm concerned, my political ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. And then when it came to Buhari, it is all over the newspaper, it is all over everywhere, that he said the dog and the baboon will be soaked in blood. So you can, these words that are associated with these people, it's very clear who are the violent people. And I want to say that as far as we're concerned, I said that this political time that we found ourselves, the 2023 election particularly, is not going to be business as usual anymore. Because we have put up strategies to make sure that as much as possible, all the things they have used to rig elections in the past, thank God for the Electoral Act.
Thank you,
all those things will save Nigerians, and Nigerians are ready to come out to defend their votes. By the grace of God, we're going to have the first time in this country when the vote of everyone will count, and
just hold on a bit,
one
comrade.
man, one vote, by the grace of God.
All right, thank you, comrade.
This is from Musa, and he says, Raka Akasa Asari is correct, but your guest, Mr. Ibrahim, did not complete the sentence. He said, Buhari also said, Wanda Yahanna.
Halakashi.
No.
You have to pardon my Hausa.
It's a lie.
You didn't say so?
You didn't. No, you see, whoever knows Buhari will tell you that such words are not even in his dictionary. Okay. He doesn't use such words.
What does it mean, though?
What does he mean that what?
What does halakashi mean?
Kill him. Yes. How can? You can never hear such words from Buhari. No way. Go, how can? No, not Buhari. Someone who sacrificed his life, who put his life on the line to protect the unity of Nigeria, will come and use such words? People just construct and dish out things that cannot even be accepted.
All right, gentlemen.
I just wonder, sorry, let me just say this quickly. Yeah. I wonder, he says, I am misinforming people. Joseph quoted the same thing and said the same exact words I said.
He's your student.
Wait, now, is my student? Can it be my student?
You borrowed from
Madam said the same thing.
She's your student.
Now, somebody who is in his house, who is also Hausa, whose name is Musa, I've just said the same thing in Hausa.
They were
so
misinformed.
all of us are wrong and you alone are right?
You are misinformed. But
then there is something actually wrong.
I challenge anyone to bring the place, to bring a clip of where the president. But I tell you, go into the history of Muhammadu Buhari, you will see that those kind of words are not in his dictionary.
I don't know.
All right, Mr. Bala Ibrahim, Director of Publicity for the APC, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, Director of Research and Strategy for the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, as well as Joseph Nderang, who is the North Central Coordinator for Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council. Gentlemen, thank you all for your time this morning, and we hope that the agencies will move swiftly, no more warnings, and arrest whoever is found to be breaking the law. Thank you all for your contributions this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you.